Most people want to be led by someone. They crave a leader, someone to guide them through life. There are good leaders out there, but there are also many bad leaders and leaders like people who find a way to control other human beings through various narratives and manage to leash off of their resources. And Bitcoin provides us with a way to opt out of this and our own path and reclaim the driver's seats of our lives, so to speak. So it's one of many freedom tools, and I think it's the most important thing for humans to protect going into the future, so that we have this thing. The future will be kind of bleak without it, since all fiat currencies are going to die at some point. They all do. They cannot not die, because the money printing has to follow the natural exponential growth of the free market. So they have to print more and more every year. Every fiat currency is on this hockey stick path to hyperinflation at some point. It's just a matter of time. And when that crash happens, I'm very happy that there's a lifeboat that we can hop onto.
Today I have such a huge pleasure to have as a guest Knut Svanholm. I don't know whether I pronounce it correctly. Svanholm?
You did. You did.
Great. Thank you so much for coming. For our audience that may not to be familiar with you, although it's like almost impossible, you are a former sailor, you are a rock guitarist, and you are one of the loudest voices in Bitcoin community. You are also author of many books. Some of them became like classics for us, for Bitcoiners, for Bitcoin community, like Bitcoin Sovereignty from Mathematics, Everything Divided by 21. And you also launched very recently the brand new book, The Inverse of Clown World.
Yes.
Please tell us how you found yourself in this Bitcoin community, how you ended up from being the sailor rock star to become Bitcoiner, right? It all happened. Please tell us more about it.
Yes. First of all, thank you very much for having me here. I know I'm planning to go to Madrid in next year for this conference that you're putting on in Madrid. I love Madrid, so I'm eager to return. It's going to be great. My story. I have a background in the merchant marine sector. So my university degree is Master Mariner, or sea captain, if you will. And I spent a lot of my years as an officer on a tall ship sailing around the Atlantic. And after that, I got a job closer to home, which was as a skipper for various crew transfer vessels, so small boats that took wind farm technicians out to wind turbines in the North Sea and the Baltic Sea. Eventually, I ended up in the office for that company, and my last fiat job was as an HR manager for around 250 employees on Danish and Swedish contracts, which was, of course, a job that stole a lot of my time. I mean, I did enjoy it, and I have nothing bad to say about my former employers, but I didn't really feel at home in that environment. I felt I had more to give in the Bitcoin sector, because parallel to this, when I was working on those wind farm vessels, I started writing articles about Bitcoin, and the articles subsequently became books, and the books started doing better and better, and I got more and more attention for my work. So one day I decided maybe I can do this for a living, and I decided to quit my fiat job and move down to our holiday home here in Spain. So that's why parts of why I moved down to Spain specifically. We already had a house here. And now I live here full time, and I do all sorts of Bitcoin stuff full time. The biggest thing was probably the everything divided equation, which took off and got quite a lot of attention in the Bitcoin space. The Inverse of Clown World is, as you say, my latest book. It's here. All my books are here behind me. I don't know if you can see them, but
I will put them down
yeah,
below
the Inverse of
the
Clown World is co-written with my. I co-wrote with my podcast partner in Victimless Crime, Luke the Wolf, and after that, we've also published a new version of my praxeology book, which is in the corner there. Maybe hard to see, but a book about a beginner's book about Austrian economics that has been rewritten with a couple of added chapters. So there's now 21 chapters, and yeah, it's me trying to condense Mises' human action into 200 pages, I guess. Yeah, and I travel a lot and do a lot of conferences, and at one of these conferences we me and a bunch of other Bitcoiners got the chance to borrow some instruments from a local band in Mexico, and to everyone's surprise, it sounded pretty well. And after that, we've been getting access to instruments at more and more conferences, and nowadays there's a full band, a Nirvana cover band I have with Samson Moe and Marty Malmi and Luke, called Nevermind. Uh, and we play at various Nirvana covers and other things at various conferences. That's always good fun.
Can we
Yeah.
find it somewhere on YouTube for someone that
No,
hasn't seen
I
it
don't know
fully?
if there's
No?
a recording, and it's a different experience live. Let's just say that than seeing videos of it. There are some videos on X, I guess, from the last gig in Lugano. So that's
Great. I will look for it.
pretty
I will
fun.
look for it for sure. Okay, in your interviews, you many times you mentioned that Bitcoin for you is like a peaceful revolution. Could you walk us through your early days discovering Bitcoin? Maybe the first time you read, I don't know, a white paper or saw some speech of someone specific that like opened your mind and you realized that your fiat job, as you mentioned, was not for you anymore.
Yes, it's a bit of a long story, but I guess that's what I'm here for.
All
I should
yours.
also mention that
All
I do
yours.
two shows. I
Yeah.
do the Bitcoin Infinity show, where I interview mostly Bitcoiners once a week, and the Bitcoin Infinity Academy, where Luke and I read a chapter from each and every one of my books and discuss the ideas in that specific chapter. So those are both weekly. Anyway, if I backtrack to where I found Bitcoin, like I think the thing that I don't remember a specific point in time where I first heard about it. It's sort of gradual. But the thing that intrigued me from the get-go was that here was this thing on the internet, and the promise was that there was something on the internet that couldn't be copied, that had a finite supply. And that's always the thing that intrigued me. And it took me a long time to realize why. And my conclusion is that the Satoshis are not really on the internet, but in people's heads. And that all the computers and all the miners and all the nodes and all the software and hardware involved are merely fancy abacuses that we use to help. They're just tools to help humans do the calculations necessary to make this thing work. But the actual ability to move the Satoshi, or the ability to own it, if you will, is just keeping a secret from everyone else. You act as if you own it because you think that it's very improbable that other people have access to the same secret as you do, and you also find it very improbable that the rules of this system will change, because you've seen the beautiful game theory of it, that it's set up in such a way that it's more expensive for you to try to attack it and try to break the rules than to just follow the rules. And that's the beauty of it. And it allows for this thing on the internet that cannot be copied, which the obvious use case for a thing like that is perfect money, or damn near perfect money. So that's what I'm here for. And how important that is to humanity cannot be understated. We're all living in a world where some people have the ability to counterfeit money and most people don't. And make no mistake about it, counterfeiting is theft. Printing money is theft. Money made out of thin air is not money, it's credit, and it's not fair. It's not. I would say it's not without violence. The basic thesis is that humans have two means of resolving conflict, and conflict can only arise over scarce resources, or what we believe to be scarce resources. And the two tools we have, are violence and communication. We can either bash the other person over the head and take their stuff, or we can argue whether it's yours or mine. And I believe communication to be the superior method, because it's communication that leads to civilization. The civilized way of resolving conflict is the peaceful way. The civilization is by definition peaceful. The opposite is barbaric, and the violent way is barbaric. And as soon as there's inflation or taxes involved, it's not consensual anymore. It's not voluntary, meaning that it's actually violent and not communicative. And Bitcoin allows for human beings to conduct their business peer to peer without anyone else being able to do anything about it. So it's the first time we've ever had a tool like this, where no third party can interfere with whatever we choose to do with our money. And I think it's the most important discovery we will ever see in our lifetimes, even bigger than the internet.
Yeah, I cannot agree more. I cannot agree more. In your debut book, Bitcoin Sovereignty from Mathematics, which became like the instant classic, as I said, it is even recommended by strategy site. What inspired you to write it? How did you balance this philosophy with hard math to explain what really Bitcoin scarcity is and why is it so immaculate? What was your inspiration for it?
I mean, I had already published a book at that point, but that first book I published was just for me to try the publishing process and what publishing a book was like. So that
Okay.
book was mostly a collection of articles.
Okay.
And then that's the only book that had attached to my name. So I figured maybe I should take this a bit more seriously and try to write a proper book that has a beginning and an end, and like it's not just random, such as a collection of articles. Because I wrote articles the years before I started writing books. Um, so I promised myself to write a page a day every day for a whole year, and this was New Year's Eve 2018. So I did until day 106, where I broke my New Year's resolution, as you do, and because I couldn't think of anything else to write. So Sovereignty Through Mathematics is a short book, but I felt I had written everything I wanted to say, and I released it, and no one cared. Until a Bitcoin core developer, who shall remain unnamed, took notice of the thing and helped me edit it a bit. I also got some technical help from my friend Kalle Rosenbaum back in Sweden. And the edited version of the book became a lot better. And I published that, and I brought 50 copies in my hand luggage to a conference, to the Baltic Honey Badger conference in Riga 2019. That was the second year they put on that conference. And I had FOMO from the year before, so I managed to get myself over there. I was also visiting a manning firm and a merchant marine academy in Riga. So I got the company I worked for to pay for my tickets, but I was really mostly there for the Bitcoin conference. Yeah, and I gave away 25 books and sold 25 of them, many over the Lightning Network, even back into 2019. And then Sovereignty Through Mathematics started to get a life of its own, and got popular in Bitcoin circles. It was one of the first 10 books strictly about Bitcoin, I think, ever published. So I'm very proud of the fact that I was early to this game. And when that was successful, I kept on writing more books. And yeah, this is my
Yeah.
path now. Yeah.
Yes, the Bitcoin independence reimagined, you are focusing very much on what is centralization, what is coercion, and you are making everyone to rethink why it is not necessarily the good thing. Could you give us a little bit more insight on this one? If you could explain to some skeptics, that are a lot of them still in the world, why do you think that this coercion, why does it exist, if it really exists, because many people don't see it, and what personal tools we can find for the freedom?
Yeah, Bitcoin Independence Reimagined is my second book, and we're right now doing a Bitcoin Academy course on this one. So we already read through Bitcoin Sovereignty Through Mathematics. You can find that on the Bitcoin Infinity Show's YouTube channel. So you can read the whole book there, or have Luke read it for you and me ranting about the paragraphs. This is the new cover for Bitcoin Independence Reimagined. We found this "Don't Tread on Me" snake here with I put laser eyes on it.
I've got it. I've got it in my in my
Yeah,
basement, the flag.
the original version had Fractal Encrypt's beautiful full node sculpture on it. But this is a book. This is probably my least known book, but it has one of my most famous quotes in it. The one-shot principle about how absolute mathematical scarcity can only be discovered once and cannot be replicated, because the very discovery is resistance to replicability itself. Yeah, I'm ranting on here about everything except your question.
No, go ahead.
Coercion, I think, happens because most people want to be led by someone. They crave a leader, someone to guide them through life. And there are good leaders out there, but there are also many bad leaders, and leaders who like people who find a way to control other human beings through various narratives and manage to leash off of their resources. And Bitcoin provides us with a way to opt out of this and find our own path and reclaim the driver's seats of our lives, so to speak. So it's one of many freedom tools, and I think it's absolutely the most important and the most vital one. It's the most important thing for humans to protect going into the future, so that we have this thing. The future will be kind of bleak without it, since all fiat currencies are going to die at some point. They all do. They cannot not die, because the money printing has to follow the natural exponential growth of the free market. So they have to print more and more every year. So every fiat currency is on this hockey stick path to hyperinflation at some point. It's just a matter of time. And when that crash happens, I'm very happy that there's a lifeboat that we can hop onto.
Yeah. Completely agree. But I think it's very hard for people to even see that they are coerced and that they are living in some kind of the control and of the slavery, finally, because they just don't even understand like the mechanism behind. They know that they are like struggling, but nobody really asks proper questions, because I think that they do not have the basic knowledge and education to be able to ask these questions. You've said many times that the biggest barrier to this Bitcoin adoption is that it takes at least 100 hours of self-education to really grasp a little bit of what is behind. And most people physically, they just don't have time, or they are just busy with other things and they are not interested. So what is your take on what would be the best strategy for us as the educators, the evangelists of Bitcoin, to change this learning curve, to accelerate it, to make this adoption the reality?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I mean, I believe that you cannot understand the solution until you understand the problem, regardless of what that solution is. So if you don't understand that there even is a problem, then it's very hard to understand the solution. And we're not taught about how money is made in schools very much. We're taught a lot of other things that are some good things like the alphabet and mathematics, and then we're also told the social sciences, which are mostly made up of opinions. There is a real social science, and it's called praxeology, and that's why I wrote a book about it, because it's based on um, undeniable statements, or first principles, or axioms, if you will, that are self. Um, like I can claim that humans own their own bodies, and you can try to argue against that, but in doing so you show through your action that you own your body, because you couldn't even make the argument against the statement without showing to me that you own your body, you own your lungs and your tongue and your lips and your vocal cords, without which you wouldn't be able to make the argument. So praxeology is based on these undeniable truths about human beings and human action. Uh, but what we're taught in schools is not that. We're taught that we need taxes, otherwise we couldn't have a society, and we're taught all sorts of things that aren't necessarily true, but are though very popular opinions. I'd say the necessity of taxes is a very popular opinion. Most people think we do need taxes, and do not dare to question this thing. But for me, as an educator, the most efficient way of changing people's minds is to ask the most basic questions. And I have three favorites from slightly different angles. One is obvious, like if they can print money, why do we pay taxes at all? And there's no real good answer to it. The other one is, why do people in the public sector pay taxes? I mean, if they're paid by taxes, why are they paying the money back to the state? And the only reason that they do is to keep up the facade that they are contributors to the economy in the same way that the private sector is, which is simply not true. They are not producing things. They are a cost. Not to say that that necessarily is a bad thing. It's just that why couldn't we have paid for all these services without gun violence or threats
Yeah.
of gun violence?
Yeah.
Uh, the latest question I've fallen in love with is one I pose in Bitcoin: The Inverse of Clown World, and that is a double question. And the first question is, when humans practice doing things, do they usually get better or worse at the things they're practicing? Uh, and the answer is obvious. We get better. If I play the piano, I get better at playing the piano. If I, build houses, I get better at building houses. If I transport goods, I get better at transporting goods. So the follow-up question that everyone misses is, so why aren't all prices falling forever?
Yeah.
Because they should, right? If we
Yeah.
get better at producing and transporting stuff, why aren't oil prices dropping forever? And with Bitcoin, if you put on your Bitcoin goggles, you can see that they are falling forever. So it's the first tool we've had to accurately reflect the deflationary nature of the free market and how prices are actually falling. All costs are falling. We believe that most people believe that inflation is necessary for some odd reason, but humans wouldn't stop producing stuff or stop craving stuff just because we stopped printing money. We would just prioritize quality over quantity and not crave a lot of frivolous bullshit things that aren't doing us any good anyway.
Yeah. That's what Jeff Booth is always repeating, that the natural state of the free market is deflation and is
Yes.
the full abundance. But people don't even know that the market that we are living now, they are not free. This is all controlled and intervened by the government. Not even like mentioning the money that, of course, is broken and it's interfering the market. But yeah, that's true. And the taxes, as you mentioned, it's very interesting because in schools, as you say, and not in universities anywhere, people are being taught what the finance is, what the taxes are. The financial education basically doesn't exist. However, I've heard the news, I don't know, like a month ago, something like that, that in Spain, I don't know when they will start or whether they already started. There will be obligatory classes for children in school about the importance of paying taxes. So this is what they care about, so that we know that it is very important to pay taxes and why, but they will never teach you how to invest, how to save. It will never be in the equation, As you say, nobody is interested in like in the government in control to make us like really free and self-dependent, responsible for our own actions, because then they will lose control and they are out of the game. And
Yeah, that
yeah,
type of education is not
mm,
education. It's 100% propaganda.
yeah, it's
So
indoctrination. Yeah. Mm,
yes, it's indoctrination, exactly.
mm, mm.
And it's very sad to hear that. But it's inevitable, I guess, when you have who's paying for the schools, or
Yeah.
who's demanding that the schools be paid for, rather,
Yeah.
and it's the government, right? So of
Yeah.
course they're going to teach you that taxes are necessary. Uh, and just listen to the irony of that. So your parents are forced to pay for an institution that tells you how important it is that your parents are forced to pay for the institution.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like try to argue against that. I'd like to hear a government official try to argue against the absurdity of that statement.
Yeah. Yeah.
It-
Yeah. 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 No, and
it's
moreover,
weird.
here in Spain, that I think, the propaganda, as you say, especially in schools, it's incredible. There is no way that you can do the homeschooling, because I always say they will lose the control over what is being put in the heads of your children. So you must be
Yeah.
very careful. I'm always like looking at my daughter's books, and I'm terrified. I'm terrified. So we're always like putting the books down, and I said, okay, now I'll explain how the things really are, because if not, it's really sad. It's really sad. It's
No,
really sad. Mm.
Spain is politically very depraved and the thing I like about it is that it's so retarded and so backwards that I don't think they have the means to figure out what Bitcoiners are doing at all. It's like too advanced for them. So as long as stay out of banks and you'll probably be fine. Like the not having money in bank accounts solves a lot of problems.
Yeah, but try not to have the bank account. You are not eligible to get the salary. You're not eligible to like
Well,
pay for almost anything. Now there are some limits that you need to pay with cash, not more than 1,000 euros. If not,
I
you will
know.
be fined. It's terrible. Yeah.
Yes, unless you start accepting Bitcoin for your goods and services and find other Bitcoiners to buy your things from, and that's how we
And
build this.
yeah,
This is how the Czechs won over communism during the Velvet Revolution. They started. It has to be a black market, like when the white market isn't functioning, uh, and it
completely
isn't.
agree.
Yeah.
Completely agree. And this is the second question I want, the following question I wanted to ask you. You are a member of the board of Free Madeira when you precisely are implementing this adoption, like very practical adoption. You already have more than 100 retailers that are accepting Bitcoin there. Can you please tell us a little bit more about this project? Like, it's very
Oh, it's a
interesting.
wonderful
Yeah.
project started by my dear friend Andre Loja, a native Madeiran and a serial entrepreneur who, like, I first met him. He wanted to translate my book into Portuguese, and then I met him in Miami at a Bitcoin conference, and we became instant friends. And he invited me to Madeira at some point. I think this was in May 2023, maybe, or no, two maybe. And then later that year, he told me that he had invited all sorts of prominent names in Bitcoin, including Jeff Booth, by the way, the month after, so in June. And I told him, "Holy shit! I have to be here when this happens. Like I should be in this group. I don't care what you want me to do, but I want to be a part of this." So I went back to Madeira like a month later, and we spent the whole week. A fantastic week brainstorming about what we could do for Bitcoin adoption on the island. And Andre already had one of his businesses is a co-working space in the middle of Funchal, where there now are monthly Bitcoin meetups, and there's also the sovereign engineering cohort that has been there. I don't know about their exact whereabouts right now, and I wouldn't want to know, but they're developing Bitcoin and Master tools. And the organization was formed, and a couple of native Portuguese-speaking people were recruited to go around and practically just orange pill retailers and restaurants and bar owners and stuff all over the island. And it's spreading like wildfire now. And we had this beautiful conference called Bitcoin Atlantis 1.5 years back now. Unfortunately, I haven't been back to Madeira since, but I absolutely love that island and everything it's doing. The latest thing is the Balsato Fund, which is a path to a Portuguese golden visa that you can get if you invest a huge sum of money into Bitcoin companies, basically. And Andre knows more about that. I recently did an episode with him if you're interested in knowing more about that. So there's a lot of things happening on a lot of different fronts there. There's a push for the whole green energy and mining narrative. Andre and a bunch of others in the mining industry were meeting up in Lisbon last year, and I think there's a similar thing happening this year. So yeah, I don't have my uh, ear to the rails there completely because I'm not on the island. I haven't been for a while, but as you say, it's more and more retailers are showing up every day. And I mean, there is no reason why we couldn't do this in Spain too. I know there's a little community in Madrid. There's a community here in Alicante, closer to where I am. There's a community in Valencia, and there's a community in Murcia. And these are only the places I'm around. I know there's one in Barcelona as well, and I bet there's communities on the other sides of Spain as well. And yeah, go to these meetups and like download the tools that are available to find other Bitcoiners, such as Orange Pill app, for instance, for which, disclaimer, I'm an advisor for them. Comes with a bit of a fee, but it's a good tool for finding other Bitcoiners. There's a great tool called Vexel, which is basically a peer-to-peer trading platform where you can find other people who want to sell or buy Bitcoins or anything else for that matter. And you can see how many friends you have in common. Everything's encrypted, and you don't have to be afraid of the government ever figuring any of that out. There are a bunch of freedom tools, and the longer I live here, the more I realize that there are quite a few Bitcoiners around. You just have to find them. My network grows bigger every day, so it's beautiful to see. If you just look around you, there is probably a Bitcoiner in every city and every town. There's bound to be a community. So start doing things with one another. There's few things are better than getting to know other Bitcoiners, and because we're all incentivized to help one another. The success of Bitcoin is the success of us. So we should do more things together.
That's the most beautiful part of Bitcoin, of being Bitcoiner and part of this community. I completely agree. But how do you convince, how do you start? Like, because, I've got this like behind of my neck all the time. How do I go, I don't know, to the restaurant, to the bar, at the corner? How do I convince them to start like receiving the payments in Bitcoin? How did you start in Madeira? Was it like special campaign? You invited them on some meetup. You explained they were just going from one place to another.
Madeira, we had a bit of a head start because the island has a president. It's not its own country, but it's a semi-autonomous region. And
Okay.
Miguel Albuquerque, the president of Madeira, had wanted to make a Bitcoin push. So we had some meetings with him, and he got our little group into a bunch of other institutions on the island, such as the island's energy company, for instance, and the tourism board and the business center thingy. All, all of these places where we basically talked to people and tried to orange pill them. But in terms of orange pilling retailers and cab drivers and your everyday man, I mean, a good tip, and what I see a lot during conferences, and what I do a lot myself, is offer a tip in Bitcoin. So if you're at a restaurant and you want to give the waiter a tip, say that I want to give you a tip in Bitcoin, and they can either accept or not get the tip. So it's pretty easy, and you show them how easy it is to download a wallet and just accept it. Uh, that's that's one way to do it. I mean, there are plenty of ways. I mean, we need to get the word out there. But get people interested. I mean, start a conversation. It's not that hard, and it's not going to kill you. Like,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. No. 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 Of course. Of course. Of course.
normalize it.
Normalize it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the hard part. That's why I decided to make this event. I want to bring people that maybe are not that familiar with all the techie, issues behind what the Bitcoin is, but like as we say, like normal people, retailers, someone that is having his very small familiar business is hearing something about crypto, but normally, the news that are getting are maybe not that good one because they are still mixing Bitcoin with other crypto. So they all
yeah,
think it's a scam. So, I think it's very important that we change a little bit the narrative, that we start talking like to normal people with like very, very little complicated language to show them that there are tools like, like the payment tools that they can use in their business, and to live there with some practical knowledge so that they can later on implement in their daily life, in their businesses, in their operations. Huh.
yeah, and also like to make them realize that this is not a thing that they can uh, wait for the price to go up in order for them to make more fiat in the future, but show them that no, you can actually use Bitcoin. Like uh, every single person on earth is able to accept Bitcoin in some way, shape, or form. Like most people have a smartphone. Like a very small percentage of the globe does not have a smartphone at
Huh.
this point.
Yeah.
So almost all people can accept Bitcoin pretty easily. You just have to show them how to do it, and we have to resist all of these EU regulations and stuff that wants to install backdoors and prevent us from self-hosted wallets and all this bullshit. Like,
Yeah.
I have to
That's gonna
make
be the
people
hardest
understand
part.
that that is
Yeah.
censor. That is very much counter to free speech.
Yeah.
Uh, because
Yeah.
this is just information, and Bitcoin has so blatantly pointed out to humanity that money does not need to be anything but information. And of course, the regulators hate that because they want money to be this tangible thing, but it's just humans talking to one another at the end of
Yeah.
the day. It's just
Yeah.
communication. I, I, I show you my appreciation by giving you access to this scarce number.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. What other forms do you see that would allow this hyper Bitcoinization that everyone is talking about? Because today we've got the anniversary of the issuing of the white paper, Bitcoin white paper by Satoshi Nakamoto. It's a wonderful day.
Yes.
But we are still at the point that the numbers are like there is only 1% up to 4% of people that have Bitcoin in the whole world. Um, it seems like it's a little bit stuck. So there are some attempts of making it, as you said, more and more user friendly. There are different tools of self custody or KYCs that are being like almost put on us by the governments and all the regulations that, especially in Europe, that we have. So, what would be the best way, according to you, to make Bitcoin really being used by the most people in the world, not only as a store of value, but also as the mean of exchange, as we are commenting.
Yeah, I mean, same answer as last question. Just make them, show them how easy it is to download an app and just do these things. Sooner or later, the penny drops. It has to. And I mean, the people I orange pilled 5 years ago, they might not have even looked at the Bitcoin price or their app until I remind them, and then they see it and they go, "Oh,"
Yeah,
because the price has like 10x
yeah.
cents. So,
But-
and
yeah.
that can happen forever. This is the thing that most people don't get, because sounds so outlandish to them that this thing could go up forever, but it really can. So, uh,
But you
but
think if we leave it on this individual level, like physical person level, is it enough? Because there are
yes,
many
I
voices
do think
now.
so.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
we have to remember that all the institutions, all the states, all the banks, all the ETFs, all the strategic reserve companies, they are made out of people too. Everything in human society is made by a person. So the individual is where it starts and ends. We have to change individuals and individual minds, and if you change, of course, it has a bigger impact if you change Michael Saylor's mind than if you change your average neighbor's mind, because Michael Saylor probably has more money than them, and his decisions affect more people. Uh, so the fact that he changed his mind and is now doing this thing is uh, is great. Like, and more people can be converted. They just need to see the positives and unlearn what they've learned. There is, as I said before, it's hard to understand the solution before you understand the problem. But people do come around, and people who self-reflect and people who are open-minded yet intellectually honest, which many successful people are. They are successful precisely because they are intellectually honest and open-minded, and they can and will change their mind given enough evidence to to whatever belief they have at the moment. So
Mhm.
I foresee Bitcoin having about if you remember, like 20 years ago, or even more, like 25 years ago, I started traveling around Europe, my sailing days and stuff, and no one in East Europe spoke English at that point, and the French and the Spanish and the Germans even spoke very, very poor English. And nowadays, the generations that grow up today, they speak nearly perfect English, in regardless of which European country you go to. And the reason is that because the kids are growing up with the internet. I mean, my daughter speaks more English with her Swedish friends than she speaks Swedish with her Swedish friends, which is just ridiculous, right? And and this has happened all over Europe, and the boomer generations can't comprehend, or not even my generation. Like, we're super poor at English in comparison uh, to today's generation. And I think Bitcoin is the same. All the kids growing up today will never have known a world where satoshis don't exist. So they are exposed to this from their childhood, and I see Bitcoin adoption playing out about the same way as English played out in Europe. So it's gradually, then suddenly, sure, and but the suddenly may not feel that sudden. Few things happen in a year, but enormous amount of things can happen in a decade. So patience is key here. One pleb at a time will convert people. I meet a lot of Bitcoiners that are sort of disappointed that this thing is taking so long, but I think that's the wrong framing. I mean, s- it has changed their lives to an enormous extent. Like, individually, it changes lives so much. I live a completely different life now to when I was in my fiat days, and I can imagine you do too, and a lot of your Bitcoiner friends do. But we shouldn't expect the rest of the world to just get it overnight. I think it takes longer than that. But each time there's a bull market, and each time the price 10x's, uh, people do pay attention, and they will know that this thing is not going away. It's not going anywhere. It's just going to keep on changing the world.
Do you think that we can see this huge adoption, although it's gonna be like slow or whatever pace it will take, if we do not see the countries and the big institutions adopting bitcoins in the treasuries? What's your take on this? Because as you know, we've got more and more countries that are adopting Bitcoin. We have heard like this week only, like Germany and France are already talking about it. We've got Michael Saylor and 200 other companies, public ones, that are buying massively Bitcoin on their balance sheet. Many people claim that if it was not for them, we would not have seen Bitcoin going 100% from like 60,000 a year that we were last year up
Yeah.
to 120 this year. Do you think that we really can do without them to get Bitcoin adopted like broadly on the other world, or we do need them for that to happen and to see Bitcoin in 1 million, 5 millions, 13
Yeah.
millions, never
Many
prediction? Uh-huh.
many thoughts about that. First of
Mhm.
all of these institutions and states and big corporations, their money comes from somewhere. They didn't make their money out of nothing. They made their money because people bought their products, or people were coerced into paying those taxes, or whatever it was. So all the institutions, there are human beings behind everything they own. It does not exist in a vacuum. And sure, especially Saylor and Strategy, they've found a way to tap into pools of money that otherwise would have been inaccessible to Bitcoin, through these ETFs and pension funds and whatnot, and Strategy stock itself. Like they are now, people can buy a derivative of Bitcoin, or rather a derivative of a derivative of Bitcoin, um, through these financial products that are tailor made for boomers and the fiat world. The important thing to remember, though, is that not your keys, not your coins is just as true today as it was when Andreas Antonopoulos traveled the world and told people that phrase. The Strategy has no bitcoins. Germany has no bitcoins. El Salvador has no bitcoins, because these things uh, aren't people, and only people can own bitcoins, because it's just information. It's just keeping a secret from someone. So I always talk about some guy at Coinbase. So some guy at Coinbase has the actual key, and some guy at Coinbase can fuck off and buy an island someday, and there's nothing you can do about it. Now hopefully that won't happen, because it will send a very bad market signal. And yeah, I think some of these custodians are very secure. They have their multi-sig setups and whatnot. But the core of the problem is still there. A paper Bitcoin is paper Bitcoin. It's not the real thing. It's not the real asset. It's like owning a claim for gold, if you will. But if you don't control the keys, you're not actually in control of the coins. Uh, so I'm sort of looking forward to central banks and governments in particular just fucking this up, and not realizing too late that they're not actually in control of this thing. Um,
And how does it have to, what you say that it's the Bitcoin is for people? Mm, how does it have to do with what we always say that Bitcoin is permissionless, which means everyone can acquire it, not only
yeah,
individuals, like
I
companies
do,
too? And how do you imagine like companies that are not stacking like 1,000 sats or one Bitcoin? They are stacking
but
thousands of Bitcoin.
how does a company own Bitcoin? Like, does the board have a 7 out of 10 multi-sig? Like, how does it work?
There are solution of the custody for the companies, but you know there is like a bit of conflict, yes, because I understand completely that the original ethos of Bitcoiners is that not your keys, not your coin. But imagine the company that is moving like millions and billions in their operation, in their cash flow, and they decide to buy Bitcoin. And if they want to have the access to their Bitcoin via cold wallet, who would like wear this cold wallet in their pocket, like a
No, but
CEO,
that's my
financial director.
that is my point. That is
Yeah.
my point.
So
At
how
the
do
end
we
of the
solve it?
day,
Because it's impossible. Yeah.
at the end of the day, they cannot be owned by the company. Individual controls it. And the same is true for gold, by the way, or any other asset. Someone controls the thing. It's just that with Bitcoin, it's very obvious that it's a person that controls it, or a group of persons, a group of individuals, if we're talking multi-sig. But and as I said, many of these custodians are pretty trustworthy, but it's still paper Bitcoin. It's not really Bitcoin. A company cannot own Bitcoin unless they have a multi-sig thing. And then again, it's not the shareholders that own the Bitcoin, it's the board.
Yeah.
And a country is not it's not a person. A country is not like, how would a population own Bitcoin? Say you have a population of like 10 million people. Is that a 700 700 no what to say 7 million out of 10 million multi-sig thing? Like, doesn't work, right? So there's always an individual on top of these hierarchies and in control of the thing. And that's the message I want to send and give to people, because in my opinion, the more Bitcoins that are in the hands of actual individuals, the more individuals that actually hold their own keys, the better. I don't want the Bitcoins to end up at these institutions, because at the end of the day, it's kind of an attack vector. So I want individuals to have their own sats and understand how sacred they are, and run their own nodes and hold their own keys and do all the things. Bitcoin is, in my mind, for anyone, not for everyone, because you have to do your homework. Otherwise, paper Bitcoin is for everyone. Real Bitcoins are not.
It's like very puristic.
Yeah, and
Kind
they
of
can call me a
thinking. Yeah, but
Puritan,
it's
and
very
I
difficult. Yeah. Yeah.
wear that
It's very
as
difficult.
armor. The latest
Yeah.
thing is pleb slop. So, like, yes, Bitcoin maximalist, Puritan, ATIQ, pleb slopper. Absolutely, I'll wear it as armor.
No, that's great. No, I'm not that maximalist, maybe because I'm like contaminated. I'm coming from the financial world, I'm still working in a bank. And
Mhm.
I know how those institutions works, and I'm not that idealistic, I'm not that optimistic, because I'm not that utopian, I'm very pessimistic. I know how the world works, and we will not change the world from one day to another. This is
No, but you can
in the
change
last.
your own life. You
Yeah,
can
my own
change
life,
your
yes, of
own,
course,
which
but I'm
is
not.
your own
Yeah,
world. You can change
yeah.
your own world
Yes,
from
of
one day
course.
to
Yes, of
another.
course. But if we want to see Bitcoin at 1 million, 10 millions, I don't like, personally, it's just my opinion, but I don't believe it will be possible if we don't get the Wall Street guys, like suit coiner guys, to the game. I think it's not gonna be that, or maybe we will have to wait like another 50 years. That's fine, as you
Yeah, I
said.
don't
Like
mind. The,
we just need boomers to go away and to bring this new generation. Yeah.
for me, that is not as important as this thing actually surviving. It's going to be battle tested the coming decades, and if it doesn't survive that, then none of this matters. So for me, it's more important that Bitcoin is at $10 million 5 generations ahead than that we get there fast. And if we can avoid the suit coinery, like, Bitcoin is for enemies, but that doesn't mean you have to like your enemies. Like, I still don't want my enemies to have any Bitcoin. Uh,
It's
like,
permissionless. It's for everyone. It's for
yeah,
everyone.
if
For your enemies
uh,
too.
yes, but for real, it's not really for everyone, but for anyone willing to actually uh, take self custody. Because if you don't self custody them, they're not really yours in any practical sense. Someone else has power over them, and then they're not permissionless. Then they're permissioned. You need someone else's. You need your custodian's permission to use them. So then they aren't. Paper Bitcoins aren't permissionless. This is a crucial difference. So, and I understand, like, coming from the financial world and coming from the fiat world, that this is it's too much. It's a very big change. It's much bigger than and it can't really map onto the old world. It doesn't really work. So it's going to take a lot, and we'll see how this thing plays out, the suit coiners and or not. It was inevitable that nation states and banks and stuff would start to meddle with it at some point. I'm glad that it took them like 15 years before they even started to look into the thing, because otherwise we would have been at much more risk if it was co-opted at an earlier stage. So I'm happy that things played out the way they did. I still like I, politically, it's more important to me that they drop the stupid capital gains taxes and stuff than that they have strategic reserves. I don't want states to have money in general, and still, I can do very little about it. It's going to play out the way it's going to play out. But yeah, we'll see what happens, and I certainly hope that Spain can change from the inside, and that there's a grassroots revolution here, and that the Bitcoin economy grows, and that we turn public opinion. In my opinion, Spain desperately needs a melee type character to change things here. Uh, the the status quo is just horrible, and I heard that there's you can get 3 months of sick leave per year regardless if you're sick or not, and that everyone sort of plans their sick
There are
leave,
so
like
many
when am I going to take.
absurds here
There's
in
so many
Spain.
absurd laws like that, and it just costs millions, and everyone thinks that the free lunch is real, but it's not. Like it leads to totalitarian bullshit, of course. So I really hope that people start seeing what the problem is, and that they use any means they can to opt out of the political bullshit. And I know that there is a big movement in Spain. It's not very vocal because people are afraid, I guess. But there are a lot of people in Spain that are tired of the bullshit and want more freedom.
Yeah. And we're going to start with our super event next year that you're going to come. You're going to be our great keynote speaker. I am so excited about it. We're going to change, you need to bring two guitarists to Spain to change it, because when you are, when you are so deep down in all this, I'm not naming, you just don't see it, you don't smell it, but if you see it a little bit from the outside, you see it in a different lenses now. And I always say, I'm coming from Poland. I was born during the communism. I know what it feels like. Here,
Yeah.
just like the theory, nobody really knows how it feels like to live in the communism. So there are lots of wonderful theories, but then the brutal truth behind is that it can only bring you the misery. So we must be very careful. And, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I decided that, we have to make people aware of what is going on, because people just don't realize that they are like in a very bad situation.
No, and the thing, you hear all sorts of explanations for why communism didn't work, but you never hear the real reason. And the real reason is that price signals didn't work. Because if you don't have proper price signals, if the state meddles with everything, then nobody knows what to produce and for whom and why. So you produce a lot of bullshit that no one asked for, and that's why you get food shortages and all of this stuff. As soon as the state starts meddling with the free market, you have a problem, and the problem is price signals. Money doesn't measure value; it signals value, and people need to get this, because the alternative is dangerous. If we think that we can have uh, different shades of communism work, like social democracy or social liberalism or whatever they choose to veil it as. It's still just different shades of the same brown slop that is or red slop. Uh,
Yeah, you just need to
and
look at
it's
the
a slippery
numbers.
slope, all of it.
Yeah, we just need to look at the numbers. Just yesterday, I published a post. I found the graph. Poland and Venezuela started 25 years ago at the same point, like just coming out from the communism, and now Poland GDP per capita is more than the one of Japan, while the Venezuela is like completely down. It's and at the level of 30% that it was when the measurement was done. So the numbers are there, but people don't see the numbers. They don't interpret the numbers. Still the education is not there. So I think this is that's why it's so important. Your podcast, your books, you're going to the conferences and teaching people. I am so honored to really have you here to speak to you. You're a legend. You're a
Thank
legend.
you. I'm just
So
a guy.
no.
Uh,
So I'm so glad to be counting on you in May in Madrid. If you're before in Madrid for any type of excuse, just let me know and let's just have a coffee and speak in person. I would really look forward to it. So thank you so
Absolutely.
much. Thank you so much, and speak to you soon.
Speak to you soon. Thanks for having me on. And yeah, looking forward to returning to Madrid and meeting my Bitcoiner friends there.
Great. Thank you so much. Have a great Halloween.
You too.
Thank you.